Say what you like about Elon Musk, he's never lacked ambition. He pledged to make space travel more sustainable. That sort of worked. He wanted to pack humans into capsules and fire them at hyperspeed down vacuum tubes. Still a work in progress. As is the proposed colony on Mars. But as his electric car maker Tesla's share price languishes below its once dizzying highs, he's busying himself with another project.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw!
The chainsaw might have been a prop, but Musk's power to slash and burn through the US federal government is real. A federal judge yesterday ruled that cuts to the aid agency USAID were likely to be unconstitutional, but too late for thousands of fired workers, some of whom reportedly had just 15 minutes to clear their desks.
Are we going to shut down the illegal Elon Musk takeover of the government?
The response from sacked workers and the Democrat opposition has been big on outrage, but of limited effect. The changes to the US government have been seismic, and reversing them may take years to come. Well, Marie C. Vinton is a senior official who, until a week ago, worked at the US Digital Service, a White House tech unit, which was taken over by Elon Musk's Doge. She agreed to do her first TV interview since quitting. And I began by asking for her initial reaction to the discovery of Mr Musk's takeover of her workplace.
We had absolutely no idea that this was coming. So it was roughly the afternoon, evening of Inauguration Day, January 20th. We were completely stunned to see that in the executive order that, what effectively was U.S. Digital Service was now the U.S. Doge service.
Well, how did the process of being re-interviewed for your jobs come about?
So on the first day of the administration, which was January 21st, all 162 USDS employees were brought in for 15-minute interviews. My observation, it didn't really feel very serious. I was kind of working with people who I didn't get the sense that they'd ever kind of understood what it would take to do really large, complex projects in government.
And these were quite young people doing the interviews, weren't they?
Yes. Yeah, they were pretty young, and everyone only provided their first names, which was, again, you want to meet your new teammates, but it didn't feel like it was fully a two-way conversation. Well,
and you weren't one of those fired. Your contract was coming to an end anyway. But when did the firings begin? How did that come about?
So after the interviews, we were kind of rudderless for a while until Valentine's Day evening, around 8 o'clock. Suddenly, I was actually out to dinner with my husband. My phone was on silent. And, we were joking around about taking some pictures. I pull up my phone, and the notifications were just insane. It was about a quarter of the team had been fired, and they were immediately cut off from all systems.
But there is quite a lot of public support for tackling government inefficiency, isn't there? And, Donald Trump talks about how he and Elon Musk have caught so much fraud and waste and employees who never showed up to work, for example.
I love efficiency. That's why I joined government. I joined government to make, those interactions simpler. And so I think that their approach to efficiency has actually been pretty inefficient. Now a lot of employees that have been probationary are being rehired or are being told to be rehired because the process by which they were fired wasn't legal.
I mean, what do you think the point of what they were doing? What were they trying to do, in your view?
Disrupt. I think it's really easy to disrupt, and I think it's really easy to destroy or to bulldoze. And it's going to be very difficult to rebuild.
A federal judge has found that Musk's role in dismantling the US Agency for International Development violated the US Constitution. Do you have any hope that the judiciary will stop Musk and Trump in their tracks?
I do have hope. What I do hope is that the courts and judges still manage to look at the law, look at the statutes that created these organizations, and make sure that they're still able to do their job.
There's a lot of talk that Elon Musk is going to move back to Tesla, that he's looked at what's happening to his company share price, and that's what he really cares about. Would you be triumphant if that happened? What do you make of that?
If he leaves after 6 months, I don't know how we're going to rebuild. And so that is one of the things that we are all watching with concern, because again, it's easy to bulldoze and it's going to be really hard to build. And if there's no one left to do it, I don't know what it looks like.
Do you feel liberated by leaving, or do you feel angry that, you know, what you uprooted your family from the UK to go and do in the White House is being destroyed?
It's really hard. The project that I launched is something called Direct File, and for the first time, Americans can file their taxes with the IRS for free. I'm glad I stayed as long as I did to fight for what I think is the right things that, you know, to move forward. And I'm also really happy to be out. It is just, you know, I get to see my colleagues and I'm their biggest cheerleader on the outside. And I will continue to be, but it is also nice to be out and to not have as much of the noise.
Marie Vinton, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Kathy.